Welcome to Mastery Class number 6. It is Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock, and we're doing another live Mastery Class. And thank you for joining. And today I would like to talk to you about dividing space in relationships. And we're going to look at that with regards to all the teachings we have done in the past few master classes. We have spoken about what consciousness is and how you can create and broaden your consciousness by becoming aware of where you are and where you want to go. We've talked about timelines. We've talked about the importance of presence. We have talked about the mind, body, spirit, true self, Trinity that needs your direction and your influence and your guidance if you want to create alignment. And today we're going to add a little bit more to that. So I would like to talk to you today about becoming aware of how much space you create for yourself. Because if you want to be present in life, if you want to be feeling that you are connected, that you have deep relation with yourself and deep relation with others, if you want to feel fully present and passionate and enjoying all of the goodness of the contrast that life offers, unfortunately, you also need to become acceptant and able to also carry the other side of the contrast that life offers. And that means knowing how to carry yourself through the deeper emotions and the darker emotions that, if I'm honest, I no longer fear or regret for myself or tend to endure in a negative way. I can, through a lot of life experience, now say that I can also appreciate the melancholy, or how do you say that in English? The well, the true side of deep emotions, and appreciate it. Appreciate sadness for what it is. Appreciate fear for what it is, and appreciate feeling alone or feeling angry or feeling insecure, because all of that holds so much information and it does truly deepen your life. But well, it's not easy and it's not nice, but without these contrasting emotions, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the highs. So it's like you cannot only want to taste the nice stuff, because you don't know what nice is, what nice tastes like, if you haven't tasted things that you didn't like at all, that weren't for you. So it's like practicing and training your taste buds. That's the same with practicing and tasting and experiencing emotions. And once you've started to learn how to master emotions, to learn how to appreciate them, it gives you tools for the rest of your life to navigate through difficult periods in time. And with regards to dividing space in your life and creating space to truly experience life, to be able to decipher what is for you and what isn't for you. Because if you don't taste anything, you will never know. And the amount of people that show up at my desk as a coach that do not know what they actually want or do not know what they actually like, well, is almost like 90%. And that is just because they haven't really been present. They haven't really created and divided space in their relationships, in their lives, that offered them true understanding of their own experience. Because if you divide time in a way that creates a lot of space and attention and focus and time for the other partner in your life, for the other person, um, you will end up having less space and time for yourself. Now, with regards to all the roles we play in life, this is a challenge. Because yes, when you become a child, you are dependent on how much time and space your parents give you. And when you become a parent, when you become a coworker, there is also certain rules, regulations, expectations, and just reality that creates the division in time for you. But it's always about looking at the amount of influence that you do have in certain situations where you can give yourself back the ability to create space, to create time. When you do not have or practice this ability, this type of mastery, which is eventually an art, um, it becomes very difficult and overwhelming. And you actually, in fact, become used to the way you divide time unconsciously. And that means that it's very easy for people to demand something for you because you're very giving. It's very easy for people to get what they want, even if that's not their intention. But for them to be present in your presence means that you would direct your attention to the other person because maybe that's what you learned earlier on in life. Maybe that's how you started dividing your space and time. And that's what your nervous system, what your mind, what your body is now used to. I will overrule my own thoughts, feelings, longings, desires, boundaries, and I will look at what it is you have going on and what it is you need. And I will interact and I will intervene in the way that you your needs are unfolding in that relationship, in that situation. And that is something that's very unconscious for most of the people because taking time to becoming aware, to becoming conscious of what is it that I actually do, how do I actually establish that energy field, that connection with others in relation to myself, in relation to the other. That's something that, well, we don't really think about in daily life. But when you come into coaching, when you come into a self-development trajectory, that's one of the things we look at from the beginning. So I will also, and if that's something that you do, if you're a coach, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, if you're a director or a manager, this is something that is very important to learn because if you know how to practice this with yourself, you can start assisting others with this as well. Um, when you understand how you divide space and time, how you are available in relation to others, how you show up in a communication with others, in the planning and strategizing your life, you start to become aware of why maybe in the end you are not feeling or doing the things that it is that you are called to do that make you happy, that make you healthy. Because if you're wired to be very conscious about what other people need, or you are wired to be very flexible in giving your time and giving your space, because that's what you learn, that's how you are wired, and your wiring is your programming, and your programming is your upbringing. Um, if that's what you do, when you're not aware of this, this will always be your first, fast, automatic, autobiographic reaction. This is what comes first. This is what you've been told years and years and years ago, maybe not even in words, but led by example, what it is you should be doing. Somebody asks you something and you provide. Somebody needs something and you facilitate. So becoming aware of what it is you do, and that's very personal for all of us. Your story is very personal. your upbringing is very personal, but the way that we have integrated these beliefs and these commands, really, because that's what they become. A belief is a thought that you keep thinking. A command is a sentence that you start living by, because it's how you understood how you can belong, or how you can be accepted, or how you can receive any love and attention that you needed. And it all goes back to your past timelines. So that's what we described in the last article that you received this Sunday. Um, I kind of um, uh, uh, I kind of included two of the last videos, Mastery Class 4 and 5, in that article, and I described why it is so so easy for us to get stuck in these patterns without us even knowing it. We think we have an issue in the present moment, or we think we are wanting something or doing something in the present moment with the people in front of us. But actually most of the time we are repeating something from the past, certain patterns, certain challenges, certain um, um, certain pitfalls that we keep repeating, because if we don't become conscious of them, if we cannot wrap our consciousness around this present timeline and choose a different thought, a different emotion, and a different action, things will start repeating. Because if you always do what you always did, you will get what you always got. So if you want something different, if it works for you, I always say, well, keep doing what you're doing. But if it's not working for you anymore, and that's most of the time when people show up for personal development, for change, for transformation, for transitioning their life, because there's urgency there, because there's something there that they don't want anymore. They don't want to think that thought. They don't want to feel that emotion anymore. They don't want to experience that same challenge over and over again. And people start pointing out to me, but that's what's happening. And I understand that. But we always look back. We always look at the timelines from the past where you learned how to divide space and time like you did, how you learned how to connect or disconnect from yourself. And that means that you lost yourself somewhere along the line, or never, and that's more true most of the time, never got the opportunity to fully build yourself up. And what I mean with building yourself up is not being the adapted version of yourself, your scripted self, the ego lower self that is necessary for everybody. There is no downplaying the ego, because we need a personality. We need to be able to adapt and react to the outside world. But that's not the only version that we should build up in life. There is a authentic version of you. And that's the innate true you that holds your potential, that you have been since you were born into this mind-body vehicle, but that needs space and safety and trust to be able to feel motivated enough and powerful enough to come out and actually be yourself amongst others. Because that takes courage, that takes time, and that takes dedication. And ideally, you get this space and time and attention and safety and trust and power from the systems. In the first place, the family systems. In the second place, your education systems. And then you move on into all of the other societal systems we have. And when I say systems, these are also relationships with others. Ideally, those situations or systems create enough space for you to learn how to be yourself, how to grow yourself, your true self, not only your personality and adapt itself, but your true self. Because what I teach people is to be autonomous. And autonomy, I explained this earlier, autonomy means learning how to listen to your intuition, learning how to listen to yourself, learning how to provide for yourself, love yourself, unfold yourself, grow yourself, nurture yourself. And that is autonomy. It's not easy. And everybody always thinks that's something we want, especially in the professional environment. It's surprising that people think they want autonomous employees. When I do coach these employees into being self-sufficient, self-leading employees, they are not that adaptive anymore. But it sounds like they can do the work by themselves and you don't have to manage them. That's what it sounds like to leaders who don't really understand that. Yet autonomy means that people have their own opinion, that people are able to set boundaries, that people are able to make decisions. And in the end, if you have a very, very healthy professional culture in your organization, that is what you want. But if your culture is actually political or how do you say that? I don't know the word in English actually. It's well, it's a bit like political, but it's more like people work together, but there's only one way that things can work out. You need a lot of adaptation in your organization. So you actually want followers, not people who are self-sufficient and self-leading. A true professional culture, a true professional organization does focus on autonomy and appreciates people who are able to say no, to make difficult choices, to take risks, to try things, to say, I'm not sure if we should do that, but let's try it out and we can see along the way, who know how to communicate, who know how to intervene. Because people are very good at adapting. They say what they think is expected of them. They say and don't say what's bothering them, what's concerning them, but they tend to just go with what most people say. And it's actually quite dangerous because you lose, say, 50 to 80% of the perspective that people, when they work together, offer because we all have different perspectives. And together we see more things, we know more things, but that does require people to be able to be themselves, to dare to speak out, to dare to say no, to dare to choose, to dare to show themselves as different, to show themselves as controversial, maybe even, because that offers evolution and change and new perspectives, new directions. If we always say, oh, yes, we should do what we've always did, and well, I think that's the main, well, not the main objective, but it's the main outcome in a lot of political cultures, is that things remain the same. I have a bit of a sore throat. Mm. And the same goes for going into self-development. If you only have worked on the adapted version of yourself in life and you feel that that there's something missing and you feel that you get overwhelmed in relationships and you feel that that version of you that wants to come out that doesn't, you don't dare to be yourself, that's where building autonomy is required. And autonomy and your adapted self, they are two versions of yourself. So it's not about that you want to get rid of your personality completely and your ego, because there's always situations, especially in stress, where you need quick flexibility and your quick adapted version of yourself. You need to have quick actions, but that's not all you need in life. You need to become flexible. You need to know where to adapt and where to be fully autonomous and fully self-sufficient, authentic, and because that's where the information lies. That's what's going to help you direct yourself and navigate yourself back into alignment, because you know that path is right for you. Autonomy is that intuition, it's that voice, it's that potential, it's that alignment within you. And learning how to listen to that means learning how to create space for that. And the difficult thing is that when I ask you, do you create enough space for yourself? Is that your first answer might be, oh, yes, I do. Oh, yes, I I play basketball on Wednesday and I visit my friends on Saturday. Um, but that's not really the space that I mean. The rest of the week, if you are in full apparatus modus of being people pleasing to others, being there for others, and the rest of the week you never check in, you never create for your space for yourself in difficult conversations, you never dare to set a boundary, to be to disagree, to go against a certain narrative. That's the space I mean. It's not being, doing certain activities for yourself. It's not just about your planning during the week. It is about showing up authentic in every situation. My voice is going a bit. So that's what the difficult thing is. You might be able, from an unconscious place, that's the difficulty with consciousness. I taught that in the Mastery Class 1. You cannot see what you do not know, and you do not know what you cannot see. So that's the difficult thing, your consciousness is as wide as it is about other people, but also about yourself. Stepping into mastery and self-development is just just placing question marks everywhere. How do I spend my time? Am I present in conversations? And by applying all of these methods and tools, I help people to get a new perspective on that, because you might think that you were creating space for yourself, that you were living in connection, but later on in life, you might find out that all along you were disconnected from yourself, really. You would just have become really good at saying, yes, I'm fine. You've become really good at saying, oh, no, it's okay. But what does that actually mean? Are you fine? Are things okay? If that requires you to push your emotions and your longings and your boundaries away every day, in the end, you will create so much stress for yourself in life and so much contrast that inside of yourself, the stress will build up. And that's where, um, well, the stress will build up, but it's actually, there's nothing there. There's emptiness there. There's no emotional care for yourself there. It's pushing yourself away and not caring for yourself enough, or not being aware of yourself enough to handle the emotional needs that you have. And the emotional need for fear is very different than the emotional need for anger, but both need serious attention, because the fear is telling you something and the anger is telling you something. They're messengers. But if you are not present in yourself, as yourself, to hold yourself, to know what nurturing requires you to not remain in that side, negative side of the contrast, you will not be able to find the door to move up the ladder into the good feeling emotions. And that's where people get stuck. That's where people get into those repetitive cycles circling back and forth timelines, actually repeating past, creating same timelines in the future, but remaining in a certain emotion of fear, insecurity, shame, sadness, loneliness, depression. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. Depression is not a bad thing. It just needs your attention. Your innate, your soul is talking to you. And if you don't listen, your body will start talking to you. Yeah. Your life will start showing you and mirroring you. And yeah, things will show up for you. But, but it's trying to be grateful for those opportunities because they show you where you need self direction, where you need new navigation, where there is another opportunity for alignment, where energy just has gone old and it's not there anymore. Yeah. So it's a new chapter. It's a new beginning. You just need to become aware of the information that is within you. Because I can teach you the mastery tools and I can teach you the process. But in the end, you have to embrace the art of becoming you. You have to embrace your own mastery to start applying it to yourself and to your life. And I cannot do that for you. And you, as a coach or a mentor or a mother or a teacher or a leader or a director, cannot do that for the other person. The only thing you can do is, well, lead by example. I try to do that myself. And don't be fooled. What I teach is what I go through in life as well. And this doesn't mean that you apply the tools, that you integrate, you feel the emotions, you heal, you make decisions, tough decisions, you go through hard periods in life, and that's it. You're in alignment, and that's it. The rest of your life, you are a la-di-da. That's not what life's about. So it's not what my life is about. So it's being consistent in applying these tools, being consistent in opening up your consciousness, saying, I already know everything. I spoke to somebody the other day who said, I don't have to read any books anymore. I already know everything. It's very, very dangerous because you shut yourself down. That's it. No more learning to do, no more growing to do. And if we're not here to grow and learn, well, that is the end of this journey then. To keep the journey going is to keep your consciousness open, to keep questioning, what does this mean to me? Where in regards to where I would want to be, where am I? What is this telling me? What is this I'm feeling? What does this ask from me? What does this require? And even if you go back to the subject, creating space for yourself in difficult situations, in difficult conversations, I still get triggered. I still have to find myself after the conversation and think, that didn't go the way I wanted it to go. And I can be very present these days, but there are certain people, and they are the most difficult people are most of the time very close to you. And those are actually your guides. And they can teach you a lot. But those are the difficult people in your life that can trigger you in a way that make you fall back in time, actually, and behave the way that you used to behave. You did all that work and you're fine with all these new people that don't hold any emotional charge. But with certain people in your life, and we all have those, it is just very difficult to be completely present in the conversation, to push back, to create space, to set boundaries, to say no, to make choices for yourself, not for the other person, and to try and divide the space and time equally, respectfully, with respect for yourself and with respect for the other person, which doesn't mean you always have to say yes, because I can respect you. I can listen to you and I can understand what you mean and I can understand what you need. And, but understanding you and agreeing with you are completely different things. So I can hear you, but that I still have to say, this is your perspective, but this is my perspective. And this is what I actually need. And this is true for me at this point in time. And I can do this for you, but I cannot do that. I want to do or be or say this, but I cannot continue in this way. Yeah. So it's remaining loyal to yourself while being present and in connection with the other. And that's very difficult because that connectivity also requires the other person to be present like that. And there are people who are not present in connection with you, who do not hold that space of respect and harmony, who try to, well, and I can explain that to you on the drawing I'm going to make, who try to consciously or unconsciously bind you to their intentions, to their objectives, to their story, while disregarding your perspective, your needs, and your story. Yeah. Being conscious, being conscious about yourself and the other person at the same time, whilst holding conversation, is very, very, very difficult. But I promise you that when you do self-master, when you do become aware of all the hooks and triggers and the scripted story that you're being pulled back into, you can start recognizing it. And even nowadays, when I have those difficult conversations and I do lose myself, I don't lose myself that much anymore. I take the second opportunity. And that means that after the conversation, I go back and say about the things we discussed the other day, yesterday, an hour ago. I thought about it and I actually have to say no to this because I have different plans, I have different needs, and I'd like to come back on what I said before. So there's always a second chance. And that's also consciousness, awareness, and development, and transformation and expression, because those are the four things, those are the four phases in mastery. And I said that last week, just being conscious of your story and why you are finding it very difficult to create space for yourself is not enough. That will not change things. That's the first step. And it'll start with that and it will give you a lot of information. But the next step is practicing. And that's why I also teach, I don't only teach psychology, I also teach communication. That's practicing and learning tools, how to, what sentences to use, where to start with, what can help you to break a conversation, to start an intervention, to start a sentence that will self-direct back to your space, that will create an opening in the relationship or in the communication that you're having, that allows you to say, what I notice is this, what I hear is this, but what I would like is this. So it's building those skills, creating that consciousness, and that altogether will help you in mastering yourself, in creating space for yourself and dividing the space in a way that is healthy for you. Right, that's a lot of talking for my throat. I'm going to share my screen with you and just do a little drawing. Right. Jake and Thea, welcome here live in the mastery class. If you have questions for me, you can write them down and I can see if I can answer them later. Right. On the screen, there's no path this time. I want to create another trinity with you. And what I'm going to teach you is something that will help you. This is what I teach my students as a very important tool to look at communication, relation, and situation. And those are all the same. I will repeat that after drawing this. Communication and relationships and situations and situationships are all the same, actually. And they are divided in 3 layers. So if you want to know how you create space and if that space is equal and if your connection is true, or if there is a disconnection in your relation or in your communication, this will help you. From now on, I want you to look at what's going on at every moment of the day in these 3 layers. Because when you are in relations with yourself, so say you're alone in the room, you still have these 3 layers going on. But it gets more interesting and more clear because when you're by yourself in the room, you have thoughts, you have feelings, you have sensations. And I teach practicing those 3 layers to become more aware of yourself. But in the beginning, that's quite difficult. So we take difficult conversations as examples to look at, to see where connection goes wrong, where presence goes wrong, and where the division of space and time goes wrong. Okay, what I do draw is pictures from the first picture from the past mastery classes, because the first layer is the content of your conversation. And that's what you, in relation to the other, are talking about, what you are doing together, what you are creating together. So say if this is a work relationship, it's got something to do with the company you're working for or the objective you're working for. And if it's a love relationship, this is about your love connection, your family connection. So this is the what. And we can talk about that, about what binds us, about what we're doing. But at the same time, there's 2 more layers present. There is the layer underneath about the procedure. That's how we agreed to practice this relation or this creation together. So in a collaboration at work, you have agreements on what time you show up, when you meet, how long you work. There's all kinds of agreements. And in a love relationship, you have certain uh, conscious or even unconscious agreements about who does what and when you see each other and when you don't and how you see each other, and say how you want to establish the relationship. Means how faithful are you to each other? Do you see other people? Do you don't? Do you want to live together? Do you not? So the what and the how are the upper current. This is what is visible. This is what is visible and what is known to us. But under this current is the undercurrent. Yeah. And this is what is created in the process between us. And it describes the interaction between you and me and the effect on my emotions. So if the what and the how is going very well, so we work together and we're creating and everything is fine and we're doing nice things and we're building things and we're getting along, then that process feels positive. Yeah. But if there's something going on, I do not really like you, or I do not really agree with you, or there's something about the dynamic and the interaction between us that feels off, that process becomes negative. And the pluses and the minuses are very easy because it just means that a relationship feels good or a relationship feels not good to me. So look at this picture here. I'm going to come back to you and we're going to talk about it. So there's 3 layers in every situation. There's the upper and the undercurrent. Let me explain. Okay, there's 3 layers in every situation in communication, and they all need enough space. Yeah, so you need to be aware and understanding of what we are doing together. Otherwise, I need to ask a question. Otherwise, I need to be present enough and I need to be confident enough to say, I'm not sure what we're doing here. I'm not sure what's going on here. Is this going well, this collaboration, this love relationship? Um, and the only way that you know if things are going well for you is if you learn to listen to the undercurrent, to the process, to the interaction and the dialogue within yourself that speaks through your emotion. Yeah. Because if you're not sure what we are supposed to do together in this collaboration, you will probably feel a little bit of anxiety. You will probably feel uncertainty. But if you learn to keep that to yourself, not ask any difficult questions and just say, oh, yes, I'm fine. Oh, yeah, that's okay. You are disconnected from that relationship and you do not create enough space for yourself to get clarity, to be who you are in that moment, to create space for you to develop and evolve in. You actually block yourself off. Yeah. You block the emotion that arises and that's telling you, I'm not really sure what's expected of me. Yeah. Um, so that's the first layer. That's the what. The same can happen on the procedure layer. So if we're doing something and I'm not clear on what I need to do, how I need to do that, I also should be asking questions. Yeah. And those two layers on the upper current are normally the layers that people are able to talk about. Yeah. But what people do find difficult is to talk about the process, to talk about the things that you cannot see, that you cannot hear, you can just feel them. Yeah. And I'm sure that you've walked into a room and that you felt the atmosphere of an argument that must have just happened before you walked in. You can feel it. It's in the energy field. It's in the process. It's in the dynamic. It's still in the interaction. People might have stopped talking to each other, but the interaction on a different level still continues. And that's where you can sense, is this a good communication situation? I'm sure you can sense, ooh, something's off here. This is what you should be applying to every conversation and sensation or situation and relation in your life, but then on the inside. So lots of people are very sensitive and they also say that I'm very sensitive to the outside world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But can you interpret that same information on the inside? Because that's where your information lies. Yeah. That's where your guidance is. That's where your truth is. And we're going to talk about this in many more masterclasses. But for now, I want to leave it at that. That if you want to become very good at creating space for yourself and bringing yourself online, on your emotional intelligence online, to be truthful and authentic and autonomous in life, in conversations, in relations, it means that you are aware of what's going on inside. And that means that I understand the pluses and I understand the minuses. But let's start this week with becoming aware of pluses and minuses. Now, in the mastery tool that accompanied last week's article, there is a tool there that I give to my coaches to start practicing and journaling their pluses and their minuses. I spoke about it in the last video. The mastery tool is available on the Substack for paid subscribers. And I will make it available if you want me to send me a message and let me know. I just want to build up our interaction and share tools with you, but there is a mastery tool each week available. That will help you start practicing with becoming aware of pluses and minuses. That's your emotional intelligence within you. Yeah. And that will help you understanding what is going on inside your world, what is asking your presence, what is asking you to create space for. Yeah. If you're shut down, if you're blocked off, if you're just present from your personality, You will have a smiling face and you will say, I'm fine. But behind the scenes, inside of you, there might be different information going on. Alignment also means that what you say and do is in alignment with what you feel and notice. Yeah. That's where you are truthful to yourself. It's not just about what happens in your reality alignment. Alignment is if you can be yourself fully, if your personality and who you are overlap. And that's when you feel in people because they're authentic. There is no facade. There is no mask. There is no, oh, yes, that's fine, where you actually feel something different. That also creates unsafety and does not build trust in relationships. When you say one thing, but people can sense that you're not being honest. And well, we kind of misinterpret that in psychology for what it is, because some people are not even aware of doing that. They just live scripted and blocked in their adapted selves. Yeah. Mastery means that we work on creating alignment in the personality. So, yeah, I am what you see. You see the Daniëlle personality here. This is what I like to wear. This is what I do with my hair. This is the way I like to talk. That's all personality things. That's things I can adapt. But my innate, my autonomy, my authenticity, who I really am, is just who I really am. There is no way. That's why autonomy is sometimes so hard because I can hold it back, but it wants to come out. It's me. It's my colors. It's my truth. It's my type of voice. It's my ideas. It's my inspiration. It's my expression. That's authenticity. And when the personality, which is just a vehicle, which is just the medium, uh, aligns with who you truly are, they blend together, and you shine through in a way that's very authentic and very magnetic as well. And that's the difference when you look or listen to somebody and you feel connection, you feel a hook, you feel something traction, you feel something going on because we connect from authenticity. We do not connect from adaptation. When somebody is adapting, just pretending to be very nice, very flexible, very okay, blah, 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 blah. There's a layer in between. There's no connection there because I'm not feeling the true personality, the true identity behind it, the true heart and soul behind it. Yeah. So working in mastery, we're working on aligning these two layers with each other. So daring in difficult situations and conversations to hold space for yourself, to say, no, I disagree, to say, I'm not sure what you mean, I have a question, instead of saying yes, but feeling no, which we all do in psychology when we don't feel safe enough, or if we do not create safety enough for ourselves. That's it, because being very dependent on other people to create space for you will not create safety. That's the truth. There is, you in your life are the only one who can create safety, trust, and power in yourself to become independent of other people, but to become yourself. Nobody else can do that job for you. That's something that you need to do and you need to work on. And through these mastery classes, I can teach you how. Right. I didn't want to speak that long, but it's 50 minutes again. So yeah, that's just what a mastery class is. Jake and Thea, do you have any more questions before I round up this class? We're going to be speaking about this Trinity a little bit more. If you're interested in the mastery tool, please let me know. For the people who, well, that's the next class in Dutch. I'm going to be teaching a Dutch class after this. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoy. The article about this subject, about dividing space and time in relationships, will follow in a few more days. Hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next mastery class. I'm sending you love wherever you are in the world. Bye bye.